Alright, so I've been doing a lot of video watching, a lot of article reading today because that DJI Spark was announced, and it really caught my interest because of the laws that we have here in Canada where you pretty much can't fly anything over 250 grams in most places. Made me wonder, is this a good solution for people in Canada? Or generally speaking, how good is this drone? And holy crap, what happened here? Actually, come to think of it, yesterday it was really windy actually. There was a wind warning and all that, so I guess that's what happened. Wow. Wow, I guess nature was really mad yesterday. Anyways, back to the Spark. I guess the question is too, for many people like myself who already have a Mavic, would a person like myself buy this as a supplement? Because in many ways people are calling this a mini Mavic Pro. So the first thing I did was I went to DJI's official stream for the unveiling of the product just to see how they envision the product, who their target demographic is. So obviously size is a factor. I remember when the Mavic Pro came out, everyone kept saying it's the size of a water bottle in comparison, whereas this one, they seem to constantly emphasize the point that it's the size of like a can, for example. I'll post the general specs up here, like what they posted on their site, but for me the main points were things like, for example, how high can this thing fly, how long can it fly, the price. I mean, according to this, the price is going to be about $499 US, and it says basically for things like the height, if I'm not mistaken, it said it can fly only up to 50 meters, like in the air, and the flight time's about 15 to 16 minutes or so. Oh, those animals are feisty today for some reason. Maybe it's because people are feeding them too much. But one big thing it seemed like they focused on are the gesture controls, like how you can actually control the drone. So it's kind of cool. They kind of demonstrated that you can actually, when you fly it up, for example, if you hold your hand, you can wave it like left or right and it'll essentially follow you. So that's kind of cool. I think that's good in the sense of this thing's obviously targeting first-time drone flyers or casual flyers. That's what you want to say, like people that want selfie photos. So I can imagine right now for people that are afraid of drones, if they control a drone that way, then suddenly that would be like, oh, this is really cool. Like in that way, I think it's actually good to, you know, encourage people that drones aren't like super dangerous as if they're like bombs or something like that. It makes me think too, it's one thing for people to see the final product, it's another for them to actually try it. Kind of like for me, like when I'm in open field sometimes and people are curious about it, they're just walking by like, what is this? They get really fascinated sometimes. If it looks safe, I just put it in something like tripod mode, like here, fly it. But people get freaked out like, oh no, like they're afraid they're gonna crash it. So I can imagine in this case, if you say like, oh no, just go ahead, just wave your hand and it starts flying, I'll make them more comfortable with the technology faster. I guess with the size factor, that's one of those things where you really do have to have it in your hands to really see how small it is. I mean, even with the Mavic Pro, when people say it's small, I'm like, okay, it's small, but not until you actually grab it, you have like the real comparison, say, wow, like compared to everything else, it's so portable. Like I actually think the Mavic Pro is portable as is. Like imagine this, like everyone can probably carry it everywhere. Though one thing I did notice about the design, if I'm not mistaken, is you can't actually fold the propellers, so they'll actually always be sticking out. I don't know if that's like a factor for a lot of people, but I guess that kind of reduces the portability a little bit. Though if it is that small, then I guess it doesn't matter for a lot of people. It's kind of interesting too, because I'm wondering why they didn't actually build the propeller guards into the drone in many ways. Because if this is targeted to the regular person, like their very first drone, and you can't actually fold up the propellers, I don't see why not actually built it into it. Because to my understanding, even with some of the crash tests with the bigger drones, it's more about the propellers, like being able to cut people. So I don't know, again, it would have been kind of neat if they could actually build that into it for this one. So after watching the official unveiling, just to see how they wanted to portray it, I tried to look at other videos, like from vloggers, to see what the product's like, because obviously some people, they got demo units or pre-production ones. And for the most part, the image quality looks, you know, pretty good. That's what I would expect for the most part. I mean, it might not be 4K or anything like that, but I think for the most average people, 1080p is usually good enough. So afterwards, basically, despite everything that looks cool and all that with the video, the ease of use, can you actually fly this thing like for here in Canada for like a person like me? And so I was trying to find the weight, and apparently according to the official DJI site, it weighs about on takeoff 300 grams. So I guess despite everything, you still can't fly the thing here with the way the dumb laws are written. So in that sense, you can't really use it with the way it's portrayed or advertised, unfortunately, here in Canada, because you can't just take it out like, say, me here right now and fly it, because I am technically within 9 kilometers of all the airports and all that, so I can't fly it. So for like me personally anyways, when it comes to flying a drone, I'm basically in the same position. I can probably only fly it when I go to a really far away place, like hiking up like 20 kilometers away in the mountains somewhere where there's no one in sight. So I can't exactly, again, just do it every day like I used to get the practice and just to get like the footages. I mean, the more I think about it, the even sillier it sounds with drones like this. You cannot fly this in a public place, yet someone could throw like a football or a baseball out in the park. That makes no sense to me. I was trying to think if the laws were okay here, like back to kind of like the way they were or something more reasonable, would I actually buy this still, like for $500? And I was thinking if I had the choice, like this came out at the same time as the Mavic, which one would I actually get based on for my needs? Because like I said, for me, I basically bought the drones like this just for a camera. I mean, one of my ideas before, just to get perspective was like, let's say if I'm walking here or just like hiking, I could be filming like the front perspectives, like the low views here with the camera, and then I could have this camera in like a follow me mode or something so we can get all perspectives. But I think still in general, just based on what I see, I think the 500 is a little expensive for what I'm reading here anyways. For example, it doesn't record in the 4K. It has a 2-axis stabilizer, though they say it's a mechanical or optical, I'm assuming. Like it's not a digital stabilizer, which is good. I don't know, for me personally, for some reason, like when I read this is $500, it makes me want to just say I might as well just save up and invest in the one that has more of the bulk features for what I use it for. Because if I'm going to be hiking, like for example, 10 to 20 kilometers up in the mountain, I'd rather have something that's more stable and gives you a better footage. So in that sense, I still think the Mavic Pro is the best balance between something that's super duper portable, like the Spark so far it sounds like, versus something really huge like an Inspire, which I wouldn't be able to like imagine myself carrying all the time. Now, what do you guys think about this announcement? I think in general, it's kind of good in general that the industry or the tech is actually trying to grow to make something better that's more accessible for everyone, because even if it doesn't work for me, I mean, the more people that get to use it, the better. Or do people see it the other way around, where if they make things more accessible like this for the everyday people, then there's going to be more accidents, which is going to make the hobby even harder? I guess for me in general, my mindset is the more people who use the tech, the more odds are that people will adapt to it and be more reasonable to the laws and all that, because there's actually more people that will be educated about it. Like I know, Scotty, you were saying apparently, like with the conversation yesterday, you were saying drones before, like for some of them in the US, they were named like actually death from above. That's probably what most people's perception are of the drones. So again, the more people that have the tech in their hands, and they'll realize, okay, not all drones are like this. So I would imagine there, if something like that became as common as some kind of household item, then if someone approached you afterwards and say, oh, that thing's dangerous, it can crash and kill a bunch of people or blow up, then you'd be looking at them saying, what are you talking about? I just used this thing to take videos of my trip to the beach or my ceremony the other day. What are you talking about? Like in general, that's what I hope it will eventually become, in terms of people not being so afraid of them in such like a crazy over-the-top way. Or like an interesting way, like even Tyler's saying, like even when people ask about FPV, one of the first questions is, can you look through an apartment window on them? I'm like, what? That's actually the first concern in your mind about a small drone? And for me, it would be like, how fast can it go? Because I don't envision people using it to like spy and all that by default. They're doing it for like fun, like in open fields or indoor racing. Oh, and for unlimited vertical, a quick comment. You mentioned before, like once in a while, you feel there's a need to remind people that it isn't just like, say, drone flyers, like with the Mavics, for example, that are affected by the laws here. Like it's also people that fly like RCs, like model aircrafts. I mean, if you ever know like an event or something like that where I can actually like learn more about it, then feel free to pass it along, because I'm interested in learning. I'm a lifelong learner in general. To me, anyways, that's how you keep an open mind. Like I remember for like model aircrafts, I think someone in the channel was mentioning they've been flying for years with no problem, but I don't think it's related to the law. But as soon as the park opened up to be more of a off-leash dog area, they started to get all of these police complaints about, you know, aircrafts flying in the area, even though they have full permission to do it. So like stuff like that is actually interesting to talk about. It's just that so far no one's given me anything to really see or to visit to see if that's the case. So absolutely feel free if you see anything that's kind of interesting that I should look at. I mean, in many ways, I'm learning from you guys as well. Like you guys gave me a link about something that's happening in the US because I think it's interesting to read because it probably will affect us as well in some way or another. Apparently why I show at times too, like in the parks when the people have their dogs running around on the loose, they're chasing people, like could pose a threat, they're chasing animals, like scaring them. So hopefully people get to think, is it really that much of a difference if someone's flying their drone in an open field versus someone taking their pet running around like crazy? Like, so where is the middle ground for people to share the space in a safe way? Anyways, see you guys later.